My girlfriend secretly tried to send my dog to a shelter because she hated the shedding. I exposed her plan and broke up. I'm a 28-year-old guy living in a small rental house, working a regular job in town. About a year ago, I started dating someone who at first seemed perfect for me. Lively, supportive, understanding. We hung out at my place most weekends, and though I was never well off, I kept it cozy. The only non-negotiable was my dog, an affectionate mixed breed who's been with me for years. He sheds a fair amount, but I handle it by vacuuming often and keeping lint rollers handy. Never thought it could become a deal breaker until my girlfriend came along. At the beginning, she pretended to like him. She'd pat his head awkwardly, toss him a treat, even coo at him in that sing-song voice. But I noticed subtle hints. If his fur brushed her clothes, she'd recoil in mild disgust. If he jumped on the couch, she'd glare at me. "He's sweet," she'd say with a forced smile, while her tone told a different story. Because I was infatuated, I tried to brush these signs aside, hoping she'd grow to love him as much as I do. Gradually, though, she started complaining about the constant shedding. One evening, after my dog hopped onto the sofa next to her, she snapped at me, "Can you keep him off the furniture? It's disgusting to have fur everywhere." I tried to explain that he's been allowed on furniture since puppyhood. My home was always dog-friendly. She huffed, "You could train him not to. It's unsanitary." We had a small argument, but I thought it ended there. I even bought a new vacuum, started vacuuming daily to show I was taking her concerns seriously. Still, the tension over the dog escalated. She'd cringe whenever he passed by, complaining about stray hairs on her clothes. I tried to meet her halfway, groomed him more frequently, opened windows for fresh air. But she was never satisfied. There was always something. His smell, his nails, the drool. Little comments like, "You care about that dog more than me," or "Why keep such a hairy pet anyway?" popped up more often. I'd just sigh, remind her that he's family, that I'd never give him up. She'd roll her eyes, calling me stubborn. Then came the day I returned home from a quick grocery run to find my dog's collar missing. My girlfriend stood by the door, looking annoyed. She said the collar was old and gross, so she tossed it. That set off an alarm in my mind. My dog's collar wasn't brand new, but it had sentimental value, with a name tag I'd had since he was a pup. I confronted her. "You can't just throw out his things." She shrugged, claiming she was only trying to help. But that weird sense of intrusion gnawed at me. It got stranger. Late one afternoon, I noticed her rummaging in a closet where I kept some dog supplies. When I asked what she was doing, she jumped. "Oh, just checking if you have any new lint rollers," she said nervously. Something fell off. I chalked it up to her fuss over cleanliness, but a chill flickered inside me. Why was she so invested in getting rid of dog-related stuff? Nothing, however, prepared me for the bombshell I'd discover. She had a plan to remove my dog from my life entirely. And she almost got away with it if I hadn't uncovered her scheme at the last second. The big revelation happened on a random Wednesday. I was working a midday shift and got off earlier than usual. Driving home, I figured I'd surprise my girlfriend, who'd said she was off that day and might be around. But when I walked into the house, it was oddly quiet. No sign of her, and my dog was nowhere to be seen. My stomach tightened. Usually, he'd greet me at the door, tail wagging. I called out, "Buddy." Silence. I glanced around and noticed his leash was gone from the hook by the door. That was weird. My girlfriend rarely walked him alone, complaining that it was too messy or time-consuming. My heart pounded. Maybe they were out for a walk. But something about the hush in the house made me uneasy. I wandered into the kitchen and found her phone on the counter, which was unlike her. She never parted from her phone. A quick look out the window revealed no sign of them on the street. Then I saw a folded piece of paper on the coffee table. My curiosity piqued. I opened it. It was an address to an animal shelter in the next county, scrawled in her handwriting, along with a note, drop-off form, details, dog's age, breed. My breath caught in my throat. Was she planning to take my dog to a shelter? The shock morphed into anger and fear. Could she have actually done it? As I stood there in disbelief, the front door banged open. She stepped in, wide-eyed to see me home so early. My dog trotted behind, looking anxious. When she caught my gaze on the paper, her face paled. "Why are you back so soon?" she asked, forcing a casual tone. I demanded to know what was going on. She stammered something about researching options, because the shedding was unbearable. That's when I blew up. Were you seriously about to send my dog to a shelter behind my back? She tried to spin it as if she was just exploring possibilities, claiming she wouldn't actually do it without talking to me first. My dog stood there, head tilted, sensing the tension. I wasn't buying her excuses. The note was too detailed, the address too specific. She had a plan for sure. We argued, voices rising. She insisted I was overreacting, that the dog hair was driving her insane, that she only wanted a temporary arrangement. But I pointed to the phrase, drop-off form, in her own writing. There's no temporary about surrendering an animal. She grew defensive, shouting that I cared more about a dog than about our relationship. I responded that if she hated my dog that much, she should have been honest. Instead, she tried to do something underhanded, secretly sending him away. My chest burned with betrayal. I told her to leave my house if she couldn't live with my dog. She snapped that she'd only do it for my sake so we could have a cleaner environment. I almost laughed at that twisted logic. My environment was just fine until she decided to move in and wage war on dog hair. When I pressed her on whether she had already initiated paperwork with the shelter, she hesitated, then admitted she'd called them earlier, explaining she had a rescue she needed to surrender. The pit in my stomach grew. She apologized half-heartedly, saying, "I just didn't think you'd care this much." I glared at her, voice shaking with anger. "He's my dog, my family. Of course I care." Our fight escalated. She accused me of being selfish, claiming normal people wouldn't tolerate a shedding dog in the house. I fired back that a normal partner wouldn't try to get rid of someone else's pet behind their back. She tried to twist the narrative, painting me as inflexible for not wanting to compromise on the dog. But what kind of compromise is giving up a loyal companion who's been with me through thick and thin? She demanded I see it from her perspective, that she had allergies or that it was unhealthy. This was new. She never once mentioned real allergies. I asked if she had a doctor's note or something. She didn't. Instead, she said her allergies were mild, but the main issue was the constant for messing up her clothes and furniture. "If you truly loved me, you'd pick me over a dog," she spat, crossing her arms. My heart lurched. That classic ultimatum, it's me or the dog. I felt the gravity of it, but I also knew my answer. In that moment, I realized I couldn't be with someone who saw my beloved pet as disposable. My dog had seen me through heartbreak, tough times, always loyal, never judging. Meanwhile, she'd known me a fraction of that time and thought she could just waltz in and remove him from my life. The more I thought about it, the more certain I became that the relationship was doomed if that was her attitude. I told her I wanted her gone, that we were done. She looked stunned, as if she never imagined I'd pick the dog over her. She tried one last manipulation tactic, tears, saying I was choosing an animal over our future, that I'd regret it. I stood firm. My dog was my family. I wouldn't trust or respect someone who'd sabotage that bond. Her tears turned to anger, accusing me of throwing away everything for a flea bag. I glared at her, telling her to leave. She stormed off to the bedroom, grabbed her bag, and left the house, slamming the door so hard it rattled the walls. Later that night, I discovered from a friend who works at that shelter that my girlfriend had indeed called, claiming the dog's owner was unfit and that she'd be bringing the dog in. The staff had asked basic questions, suspecting something shady. She never followed up because I got home first and foiled her plan. That knowledge made me furious. She was prepared to paint me as an unfit owner just to rid herself of the dog hair problem. The next few days felt surreal. Bits of her stuff remained around the house, but I tossed them into boxes. She texted me once or twice, repeating that I was an idiot for letting a dog ruin our relationship. I blocked her number after that. Some mutual acquaintances reached out, hearing a partial story. She told them I was crazy protective about my dog, that I chose the dog over her happiness. I calmly explained the truth. She tried to surrender my dog without my consent. My friends sided with me, disgusted by her tactic. Even though it hurt to lose someone I once cared for, I felt relief. No more tiptoeing around her complaints about dog fur. No more fear she'd do something drastic behind my back. I changed the locks, just in case. My dog seemed to sense the tension was gone. He wagged his tail more, followed me around the house with that comforting presence only a pet can give. As the days turned into weeks, life stabilized. I felt a surge of gratitude for my dog's unwavering loyalty. Every time I saw him sprawled on the couch, shedding included, I remembered how close I'd come to losing him. The idea that my ex nearly shipped him off to a shelter still made my blood boil. Eventually, a few mutual friends revealed that she'd moved in with a cousin, seething about me. She complained that I was unreasonable, that I refused to compromise. The cousin apparently told him her side. She truly believed she was justified in rehoming my dog if I didn't comply with her cleanliness standards. Hearing that only confirmed my decision. If she still felt she was in the right, we had no common ground. There were no legal ramifications to face since she never actually dropped him off at the shelter. But part of me wished there had been some official record of her attempt to show how manipulative she was. Regardless, I realized I'd gotten off relatively unscathed. My dog was safe, I was single again, but free to find someone who respects my life choices, including my fur-filled living room. Sometimes people ask if I regret letting her stay at all, if I saw red flags earlier. In hindsight, yes, her distaste for dog hair was always there. But I brushed it aside, thinking it was just a preference, not an obsession that'd lead to betrayal. The experience taught me to be more protective of what matters. If a partner can't accept a fundamental part of your life, like a beloved pet, it's a big sign the relationship might be doomed. I ended up delivering the rest of her belongings to a friend's house. She never tried to see me again. Fine by me. My dog still rests his head on my lap while I watch TV, still greets me at the door with a wagging tail, and I wouldn't trade that for any relationship built on deception and entitlement. In the end, I guess I got the last word. She tried to rehome my dog behind my back, believing I'd cave or fail to notice. Instead, I found out, exposed her plan, and broke things off. When people ask what happened, I simply say, she hated my dog shedding so much, she tried to send him away. That was the end of it. That alone is enough for most to understand. Because love me, love my dog, there's no middle ground for me. And I have zero regrets about choosing him, my loyal companion, over someone who valued a hair-free couch more than honesty and compassion.